Hello everyone, this is Charles Walter Buntjer coming to you from San Francisco. It's July 2025. This video, I'm documenting my 72nd birthday in 2012 in Puerto Rico. Now, I decided I was just going to set up everything myself. I got my airline reservations and a very large hotel, the Sheraton, in downtown San Juan. And I found out that they had a desk in the hotel and they would set up day tours for any place you wanted to go for a nominal rate. What could go wrong? So I thought this is a great idea, and off I flew to the airport and got a cab and went to the hotel and met with the person working at the tour desk. Wonderful person, and I was able to get all of the tours I wanted to within the next 4 to 5 days. The first thing I did was take a bus tour for about 5 hours, and actually all we did was just drive all around Old San Juan and looked at all the houses and gardens and public buildings and all that sort of thing. And I met a couple and we became friends for the day, had a great time, and they said that we had to go to this famous restaurant. It's called the La Bonne or La Bamara restaurant, and they're famous for their lunches and their coffees and all that sort of thing. So we stopped by there and had a coffee, but I went to look it up on the internet, and it's rather confusing because it says it's closed, it's open, it might be open, it might be closed. Nobody's knows for sure because they had problems. So anyway, I'm not sure, but if you go to San Juan and take the tour around Old San Juan, I'm sure you'll find out if it's open or if it isn't, because the tour guide usually stops there so that he can make a few extra dollars on the side for dumping the tourists there. The next day, I took a bus tour with about 20 people, and we went west of San Juan, and we ended up at the caves, which is really interesting. It's a park, and we got on something like golf carts all hooked together, and we whirled around through the ravines and the jungles and all that sort of stuff. And I met two men, and we became friends for the day, and another young man that eventually I had dinner with him a few days later. We ended up going through the caves, and the water was a few feet deep. We were in a little boat, but we only went about a block long. It wasn't that far. But there were stalactites and mites and everything hanging around and stuff, so we had to be careful. But we enjoyed ourselves and had a good time. Now, the next thing is, one of the reasons I wanted to go to Puerto Rico was because of the radio telescope. Then it was the largest in the world. It was really spectacular. So we spent a lot of time walking around and going into the building where they were able to detect different types of particle waves and all that sort of thing in a radio telescope. And then I found out not long ago that there was a problem with one of the towers, and it broke and snapped, and the center equipment that detected the signals from the dish broke and fell into it, and the entire thing collapsed. So I'm glad I got to see it before it just was destroyed. And then I did read a few years ago that China built the largest in the world now, really super huge. So I was lucky that I got to see that. The next day, I decided to go to the rainforest. I wasn't sure if I wanted to really go to a rainforest because I've been to rainforests on the Amazon in Brazil and Peru, and I've been in, let's see, where else have I been in the jungle? Oh, in Zambia and South Africa. I've been in the jungle there, so I wasn't too sure if it was going to be that exciting to go to the jungle, but each one is a little different. And this one was interesting because we got to see the world's smallest flowering orchid. Now, the orchid was about the size of my thumbnail, the flower. Very, very interesting. Oh, one thing that did happen, one of the guides told me, he said, you know, we're probably going to get a little shower. It'll rain for 5 minutes heavy and then it'll be over. So we were at the gift shop in the middle of the jungle, and suddenly it started to pour down rain. I rushed under a tree and stood there, and half the people in the gift shop bought umbrellas, but they get the little folding ones. They got the big long ones. Well, they rushed outside after that, and they put it up, and it rained for about 1 minute, and then the rain went plump. That was it. The sun came out, and they all had these big long umbrellas they paid big bucks for, and they were going to have to drag it around the rest of the day until they got back to the hotel. They were not happy. I was. Then I did another tour, which was of the old fort. I think it was the San Cristobal Fort, the Castile, and that was interesting. I walked all over the fort, checked everything out, and it's easy to do. You actually don't need a guide or anything. You can read up a little bit on it and just go and do it on your own. I decided then the next day, the next evening actually, to have my 72nd birthday dinner at the hotel. Now, I had a couple of cocktails and I'm sitting there, and the young man who was with us on the cave tour was sitting at another table, and he got up and he said, I heard it was your birthday and you're all alone. Could I sit with you? And I said, well, of course you can. He was about 30, had just got married, and was on some travel, work travel situation. And he was missing his new wife and all that sort of stuff, but he was so sweet. And we sat there and talked about 2 hours or so. And the next picture, after me sitting there having my dinner, is a picture of what he looked like when we were on the cave tour. Unfortunately, I didn't get a picture of the two of us at the table. I think we were talking so much, and he especially about his new wife and all that sort of stuff, that I didn't get a chance to get a photo of the two of us together. Too bad. So sad. So the next day, I took a boat ride over to a small island, and there was the Casa Bacardi, and it was really wonderful. We got to taste different Bacardis and do this and do that, and I did, or I guess they told us that that was the biggest moneymaker for Puerto Rico. And what happened was that Bacardi was situated for years and years in Cuba. And then when Cuba became communists, something happened and they threw a tantrum and they were screwing over Bacardi. And Bacardi says, well, fine, if you don't want us, we'll leave. So they picked up everything and left the country. And of course, Cuba now is poor. And here they could have had all this income from Bacardi, but Puerto Rico was a winner. And we just had a wonderful time there. Now, the last afternoon, I was walking around and I said, oh, there's the MS Bounty. Marlon Brando starred in the movie, and this is a replica. I think it's half-size replica of the actual MS Bounty. So that was really fun. I got to walk around on there and pretend I was guiding the ship and photos of me and everything. So that was a really nice afternoon. Then to finish the day off, I stopped at the coffee shop that was supposed to be pretty famous, I guess. It was interesting because right next to it was the dock, and there was a huge ocean liner there. And 4 or 5 blocks all around the coffee shop were shops, first floors, second floors, hundreds of shops. I mean, it was just unbelievable. But when a cruise ship comes in, if there's, 2 to 5,000 people on a ship, let's say 4,000 and 2,000 get off, that's a lot of people. And they're all hustling around, shopping and buying all kinds of things. And of course, I don't buy anything anymore because I've had so much stuff that I don't need anything anymore. Maybe I get a refrigerator magnet, maybe, but I just don't need anything anymore. But it was really another wonderful vacation and another wonderful birthday in Puerto Rico, of all places.